astonishing. Melting ice has revealed artifacts from a lost Viking highway in Norway. At an average altitude of around 1.1 miles high, 1,800 meters, in the Jotunheim Mountains of Norway, a patch of ice is melting. It's called the Lendbrich Ice Patch, and for thousands of years it's been frozen year-round, accumulating a new layer of ice every year. But in the past 20 years, the ice has been slowly melting as the climate grows progressively hotter, and this melting of the permafrost ice is occurring around the world. But in the case of Lendbren, the melting ice is like Santa Claus for archaeology. As the Lendbren ice patch recedes, it's revealed an absolute treasure trove of artifacts, some of which have been buried under the ice for thousands of years. After a careful study of the objects, archaeologists have now confirmed that the region was once a heavily trafficked mountain pass around 1,000 years ago, and not just a pass. The presence of horseshoes and other travel accoutrements indicate the region could have once been a bustling, for the time, Viking highway. Not all the artifacts have been studied yet, but the radiocarbon dating conducted on around 60 objects so far shows that the region was well trafficked during Middle Ages before becoming forgotten following the Black Plague, what wrecked Europe in the 14th century. Artifacts exposed by the melting ice indicate usage from about 300 to 1,500 years ago, 300 AD to 1,500 AD, with the peak activity around 1,000 years ago during the Viking Age, a time of increased mobility, politically centralization, growing trade, and urbanization in Northern Europe. Lendenbren, the team writes, Lendenbren provides new information concerning the socioeconomic factors that influence high elevation travel and increased our understanding of the role of mountain passes in inter and intra-region communication and exchange. Over the years, a few artifacts have been discovered in the region. In the 1970s and 1980s, some were reported and turned into the local archaeologists, including a spectacular Viking Age spear discovered in 1974. And this is just one example of a bit for a lamb or sheep that was discovered. The summer of 2011 was extremely warm, resulting in a huge melt that exposed a plethora of artifacts. Archaeologists returning to the region from the previous year were shocked at the melt and scurried to collect and catalog the history littering the new exposed ground before snows returned to cover all this up again. They returned every year until 2015 and again 2018 and 19, collecting hundreds of artifacts over a site that covered 250,000 square meters, the size of 35 football fields, of ice, rocky scree, and punishing conditions. It's been demanding field work in often appalling weather conditions, is what archaeologist Lars Pilo of the Danlet County Council writes in his blog post. He says, however, the reward was made it all worthwhile. The results from the field work have made it clear that we have indeed discovered a lost mountain pass, the dream site for glacial archaeologists. The glacial ice preserve all kinds of organic materials that would otherwise be lost to weathering. Objects of leather, bone, wood, wool have been uncovered. Objects having to do with their apparel they're wearing. Objects of leather and have been uncovered in excellent condition, giving us, they said, a rare glimpse into the everyday lives of people moving through the Jotunheim Mountains over the centuries. Objects include shoes, mittens, and clothing, even a complete wool tunic dating back to the 3rd century AD, a wooden tinderbox, sleds and parts of sleds, a wooden whisk that could have doubled as a tent peg, a small knife, a small bit, carved from juniper, likely used to keep young goats and lambs from suckling, thus ensuring a supply of milk for human consumption. But it was the presence of horseshoes, including a snowshoe made to fit a horse's hoof, that produced clues that the region was a road. And then the team discovered cairns, distinctive piles of stacked rocks. These have been used repeatedly throughout history as way markers for travelers to prevent people from losing their paths. It's now clear that Ленбрен was the focal point for regional transhumance and probably also long-range travel starting during the Roman Iron Age around from 1 AD to 400 AD through until the end of the Middle Ages up to 1537 AD. The site's exceptionally rich archaeological material illustrates a long-lived transhuman system in seasonal changing mountain terrain and provides a modern pertinent to the study of mountain paths globally. Such passes play key roles in path mobility, facilitating and channeling transhumance, intra-regional travel, and long-distance journeys. The ice that covered the Ленбрен Pass is all melted by now. 2019 was the last archaeological season on the site, but there's still more work to be done. A new paper only covers artifacts discovered up to and including 2015. That's a great deal more to be tested and analyzed, and the ice patch has shown that these melting regions can be incredibly rich time capsules. The team is already casting their eyes on other sites. Just after finishing work on Ленбрен in 2019, finds started melting out in a mountain pass further west on the ridge, Pilo wrote. During a quick survey on the last day before winter snow arrived, we managed to recover an Iron Age shoe and a piece of leaf fodder here, and there will be more to come. The search has been published in the journal Antiquity. This is on Science Alert by Michael Starr. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.